All right, so this over here is my $3,500 M4 MacBook Pro that's powering this nice screensaver that you guys are going to see in the background. And this is the $999 M4 MacBook Air. And after spending time with this, it makes me a little bit upset over how much I spent on that one over there. Now, the M4 MacBook Pro has been amazing, do not get me wrong, and it does absolutely everything that I need here on the channel, from video editing, picture editing, brand emails, and even some stuff for my work as a clinical therapist. But what I can say, man, is that this $999 M4 MacBook Air is probably going to be like one of the best $1,000 purchases that you watching this video are ever going to make. And I say that as someone who typically is more of an Android guy, right? I love my Galaxy Folds, the OnePlus 13 was awesome, but in terms of laptops, bang for buck, value proposition, this thing is absolutely incredible. So if you guys are new here, my name is Dave. This is where tech meets lifestyle, and I'm gonna run you guys through the paces that I've been running the M4 MacBook Air through, so you guys can see that this is probably going to be the right laptop purchase for a large majority of you watching this video right now. Now, in terms of look, I did opt to go for the new sky blue color. And this is actually interesting. So I do find it pleasing to the eye, but depending on the way that the light is hitting it, you're either getting like what basically looks like that silver color, and if the light hits it another way, you kind of see some of that blue on the body. I personally think it looks really nice, but it's kind of hard to convey on camera. You really just have to see it in person. The biggest plus here is that fingerprints are really non-existent, and you are getting on the body those two USB-C ports that have Thunderbolt 4 speeds. I know Thunderbolt 5 is out. Thunderbolt 4, for most of what you guys are going to need, is still going to be super fast. And I think people are going to see this like really affordable price point and assume the M4 MacBook Air is kind of made more cheaply than, say, like the Pro models, and I can say that absolutely has just not been the case. This feels just as premium as my M4 MacBook Pro, the aluminum body, the keyboard, the trackpad. Having utilized other laptops in this price point, it really is amazing that everything about this just still feels like a $2,000 laptop. Definitely a huge plus there. Now, of course, there's still going to be like a couple of concessions you're making because this is not a MacBook Pro, but in my experience, I think that most people looking to buy this are probably not going to care about those things. So the one that I have here is the 13-inch model, and display-wise, you're getting a liquid retina display, which technically is not going to be as good as like the mini LED XDR displays that you're getting over on the MacBooks, right? But you're still getting a really great display here that's still covering 99% of the P3 gamut. You're getting a contrast ratio of 1500:1, and what I can say overall is that when browsing multimedia, that when browsing social media, or watching videos on YouTube, or even when I've been doing video editing and picture editing things, this display here has honestly still been very good and very reliable for my needs in terms of workflow things. I have to give Apple a lot of credit there, and I think that a lot of you guys looking to purchase this are going to be super happy with the display on a day-to-day basis for basically anything that you need it for. Now, every single time I do a Mac video of any kind, one of the main questions I always get is RAM, right? And so here I opted for the absolute lowest version, so the 16 gigabytes of RAM. There are configurations for up to 32 gigabytes, but for the sake of reviewing the lowest pricing option, so that way I can see what the like average person is going to get that's looking to save the most money possible, I went with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I've heard some people say that 16 gigabytes is just not enough. If you ask me, I feel like all of the everyday things that I've thrown at this have honestly worked just fine, with a couple of caveats. So if you're looking to do some multimedia, web browsing, having a gajillion tabs open, all of those things you can absolutely do. When it comes to editing pictures, that honestly, in my experience with Photoshop and Lightroom, has been just fine, even when utilizing the AI denoising. I've found that that renders things pretty smoothly, not as quickly as my M4 MacBook Pro, but I don't think anybody would expect that. And the same thing for my video editing. I actually edited last week's video on the iPhone on the M4 MacBook Air, and that video wasn't like super intensive as far as like plugins and effects and things like that, but I was able to get through that entire video without any problems, no crashing, no like super significant slowdowns. And the only slowdowns that I really did notice were when I was experimenting with adding certain plugins, some things for audio, some things visual, and some of like the magnetic mask stuff. Those things took longer and weren't quite as smooth as my M4 MacBook Pro, but honestly, still super usable, still super workable. And I think for most people, if you're looking to get into video editing, I mean, this thing is gonna handle most of what most average consumers are going to need out of it. on a day-to-day basis. And really, every time you pick up the M4 MAcbook Air, you just cannot help but get the feeling that for this caliber of tech product, you are getting an insane deal. And a way for you guys to continue saving money and getting great deals is with today's sponsor, Slickdeals. Instead of spending hours browsing the internet for deals, the Slickdeals community does the heavy lifting and scours the internet for you to save you the most money on everyday items and especially tech items. Finding deals is super easy as they have trending tabs, categories for deals, and you can manually search the item that you're looking for. Also found a great deal on last year's iPhone 15 Pro Max for $400 off through Slickdeals, which I definitely would not have found otherwise because I just don't have the time to allocate trying to sift through the internet and find deals that are that substantial. And one of the best features on Slickdeals are their deal alerts, right? Because sometimes it can be difficult finding a deal because those deals don't always last long. So you can actually set a deal alert for yourself for the item that you're looking for, and you'll get notified via email or notification through the app the moment their community finds a deal. So basically you have a lot of eyes keeping tabs on the specific item for you, so that way as soon as there's a deal on it, you're one of the first people to know. So if you guys like saving money like I do and finding great deals, I have a link down below for you guys so you can get in on Slickdeals, and thank you so much to Slickdeals for sponsoring this video. And if you're looking to do some 3D modeling as well, simple, not super complex, geometrically heavy scenes are going to be okay. But undoubtedly, if you're really starting to push and put a lot of pixels on screen and have scenes that are way more complex, a lot of more vertices and points and things like that, this is going to struggle for sure, and you definitely are better off going with a higher spec option or just going with the MacBook Pro altogether. But as a whole, for what most people are going to need out of this thing, I found on a day-to-day basis, it's been pretty great. And again, almost annoyingly so, because this is getting like pretty close to the performance that I'm getting out of that thing. So battery life has been quite good. If I'm using it more intensively, I'm getting about 2 days worth of battery life out of it. But if I'm using it for just like normal everyday tasks, the way that most people are going to be using it, right? Really just like answering emails, jotting down some notes, doing some work in Google Docs, Google Excel, I've been able to get like 4, sometimes a 5th day out of it. That doesn't happen too often. I guess even like more so on the low end of things. But battery life for sure is one of those things where you don't have to worry about charging the laptop every single day. You're getting a few days worth of usage out of it. You're also getting a new 12 megapixel webcam, which in my experience, I think it looks like good enough. It looks like about what you'd expect out of a MacBook webcam. What I will say though is that like the audio quality is really good here for when you're actually in those meetings and hearing clearly what the other person's telling you, and on the other end, making sure that the words that are coming out of your mouth are also coming through clearly for the person on the other side to make for as smooth and seamless communication as possible. And if you're someone that either utilizes multiple external displays for your workflow or are looking to invest in an additional monitor to incorporate into your workflow, this is actually able to support an additional external monitor with the screen open on this, right? So on the M3, you could only support 2 external displays if the laptop was closed, but here you can actually have this open and the 2 external displays, so you can be working on 3 concurrently at the same time. And ultimately, man, I mean, this thing costs about 1/3, yeah, quite literally 1/3 the price of this one. And the amount of bang for buck that you're getting out of the M4 MAcbook Air is almost ridiculous. Like even if I didn't have my MacBook Pro, I'd still be able to do most of the things that I need to do. Of course, not as smoothly like at the high end of my personal needs and my workflow, but I'd be able to get like pretty much all of those things done. And I think for the price that you pay for this, that's like, it's pretty crazy. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new to stay up to date with more content like this. And if you guys have any questions, if I missed anything at all that you're wondering about, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. I try and get to as many of you guys as I possibly can. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic, oh, it just stuck to my microphone. Thank you guys so much again for stopping by and hanging out. I wish you a fantastic remainder of your day, afternoon, or night, depending on the time it is you are watching this. And as always, peace, love, adios, bye guys, and have a great day.